Welcome to FluteSpace, a platform created to show interesting stories related to life as a flutist and discovering inspiring content in form of a podcast. You can catch up with us on our Instagram at theflutespace, and you can listen to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. All these links can be found in our link tree in the description. And if you want to support us, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/theflutespace, or you can join us on Patreon. Welcome to the new episode of FluteSpace with Zofia Neugebauer.
For sure you know her because she played in the Karajan Academy of Berlin Philharmonic. She's also playing with Verbier Festival Orchestra, and she's very busy working as a soloist. And her new CD where she recorded Mozart Flute Concerto will come out soon, so check her social medias to find out more about that. We're so happy to have you here today. Well, and first we wanted to talk with you. If we look at your career so far and your life so far, you achieved really a lot of things that a lot of other flutists could only dream about. I mean, you have been part of the Karajan Academy, you also play with Verbier Chamber Orchestra, and you have a lot of concerts as a soloist. So we wanted to ask you, how do you define success, or what is personal success for you?
It's very beautiful what you're saying, because it makes me feel like on wings, you know, because I think actually this is one of the key perspective on life that I'm thinking about since few years, since I had like a little failure going on in my path. And I think to define success is such a beautiful perspective, because me being where I am, very often I think I don't do enough, you know?
Yeah, it's the perfectionist of the...
I think everyone knows that, like, you are completely lost and blind, like you don't see all the things that you're actually doing.
Yeah, and also my best friends, they are very often saying like, "Oh, Sofia, but you do this and that," and sometimes I feel like, "Oh, but I want more. I want something else." And it's very beautiful to stop yourself and be so grateful for what you've got already. And actually, right now, if I would have to say that I would love that my life looks like it looks right now for next few years, I would love that. So I'm in a pretty good place in that sense. I'm not lacking much, and I just try to focus on having dreams, because I think that if you have some dreams, then you have some kind of drive for life. So for me, success is that actually you're just conscious about where you are in a way, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to feel necessarily good, not bad, not, because those feelings are so relative to every situation and to every person. For me, success is that I'm doing what I like. Oh, in that sense. And it could be repotting plants, like today I did at my home. And I think that was big success that I finally could do it. But yeah, success is just the little things every day. I think
complete your life, that add something to it.
Yeah, like I'm doing things that I like, you know, like that I can choose to. I think the biggest success for me is to play with musicians that I admire. Oh, that one. Like, yeah, like I love when there are nice people and they ask me to play with them, and I am like, oh my God, yes, am I really playing with these wonderful musicians? And that is big success in a professional way for me. Yeah.
Well, a couple of things. I mean, you mentioned that dreaming is really important for you, and with everything that you said, it's actually a beautiful way to connect with kind of what do you want to achieve or something, and that you actually have these kind of dreams of like kind of visual manifestation for your next project or something. And I think that's really important for everyone to have, because then you give yourself this positive push to do something.
Yeah, instead of saying like, oh, like I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, but to say like, oh, I would love to phrase it in a different way, like to say, oh, this is my dream, I would love to do that, and then you work for it instead of like punishing yourself of like not doing enough or something.
And kind of moving the boundaries, pushing possibilities for yourself.
Yeah, in a sense, I believe also a lot in that our body knows a lot what it needs and what it wants. So in a way, I believe when we dream, and it's not only that I believe, but it's also like neuroscience, like it's something that we dream about, something that my mom and my parents, they were always so sweet, and they were always saying like, okay, have dreams come true. And of course you have to work for them, they just not happen only. But so if you have a supportive environment, whether they are friends, whether parents, whether you create that supportive environment for yourself, which is also very possible, then I learned, so it was since I was very small in my family, was you can do this, like you want it, you can make it happen, in a very realistic way, not like I can become a unicorn or something like that, but in a very realistic way. So my brother, for example, he's a football player, so a very successful football player for his age, and that shows me that the fact that somebody tells you from a young age your dreams can come true, go for it, don't doubt it even. It's a big, powerful tool to support young people. That's why I love to share it with my students, for example, I think it really gives wings to people.
It's super important to have like a teacher that supports you. And actually we also wanted to ask, because so how was it different for you? Like you studied in Poland first and then you went to Switzerland to study, and how was it for you? How was it different in some ways?
It was, of course, like every teacher was different, but I always had very supportive teachers, very, very supportive, and I was lucky to have always very imaginative teachers, that they saw that I maybe am a bit edgy, I always made them cry.
Sometimes it's the opposite, both of times actually.
But crying in a good way.
No, I was not. No, not even.
Oh, amazing.
That's an amazing story actually.
No, I was very, very moody student always. Or not an easy one, I assume. Also for Felix after, I think, or Mathieu after also. Not in a way like I always really truly respected them all, but also sometimes it was not easy for me to grab things all together. And for example, when I really wanted something, I'm a very impatient person, and with certain things I'm very patient also, so all probably sometimes you want to get something and just like get so frustrating that I don't know, something is not working, and then I would go to Felix, play an etude with like 77 million mistakes, and he told me like, oh Zofia, how about next time you would just like try to make no mistake in an etude from the beginning to the end? And I would be like
I wish I could.
and then I would just like have like emotional breakdown in the class, and like I don't know what to do, everything goes wrong. So
oh, that is so relatable.
Yes. I think everyone had these kind of lessons already.
Yeah, we are all the same. And so I think in the sense, if Poland or Switzerland or something was different, maybe not necessarily, because I had a very nice teachers always, and my professor, like there was first Barbara Shurubash. She was teaching me between, I was like I think 13, 15. Very supportive, great teacher. Then from 15 to 18 I was with Cezary Traczewski in Wrocław, Breslau. He's a wonderful teacher with a lot of success. He was also studying a little bit with Peter Lukas Graf here in Basel before, and he has this kind of international connection a little bit more. and he created always a lot of opportunities for Polish students to go, and he invited a lot of international teachers to Poland. And that's how I met Felix, because Felix came for masterclass to Poland, and I had masterclass with him for a week, and we kind of clicked so well immediately. It was so fun to work. It felt like flying, you know, like when you click with someone so well that everything is just so exciting and super fun, and in a way serious also, and it was a great time. And then he kind of helped me a little bit to, so I come from from like a Polish family where you cannot, maybe not, it's normally that you cannot really afford certain things financially. So he was also supporting me with getting some scholarships sometimes. He was like so generous, and so generous with his time. So I could come here to Poland, to Switzerland, to have lessons with him. And then, of course, my big mentor was Mathieu also. And Mathieu was also like Felix and Mathieu. They were very similar in many ways. They are also good friends somehow. They share a lot of similar values. And that is kind of so beautifully weird also that I ended up with two similar mindset of people, and I am also like this, so in a way it all kind of adds one to another. And therefore I believe that you really have to follow your heart to find a teacher for yourself on a platform of a human connection too, a lot.
That is really important.
I mean, it changed a lot for me in my path,
and
I think.
Now that, I mean, you've finished with your studies, you're on your own, but not really. Do you still look for input into your work, your the next projects you do, and who do you ask?
Yeah, I mean, that's a struggle. That's a tough thing after you finish studies. And I finished studies 2 years ago, so not that long time ago. When you finish and you're like, I have my first CD recording. Oh, wow, Mozart. Who's gonna tell me how to play? Or like, oh, I have an audition to an orchestra that I really like. Who's gonna tell me how to play? Nobody. But then I think it's important to discover your friends that you are with. Like, for example, I have wonderful musicians friends that you trust them in the way that they look at music, and also, so I for like orchestra auditions, you can ask always anyone, any colleague from any other orchestra. And for a little bit bigger ideas, for now, I love to search for inspiration from other people, and all the time learn from other people, from conductors, from musicians, through talk, and like you meet and connect on stuff. Recently, when I was recording my first Mozart concerto CD, which is going out this year, I really worked a lot with Johannes Klump, with the conductor from the CD, but I love the idea of giving myself chance to make my own choices right now. So I not to try to be influenced but too much by my previous teachers, whether I love them and I trust them 100% with all my heart. But Mathieu, I wanted to go back to study for another master. I have only one master. I wanted to go to study to another school, and he was telling me like, Zofia, but you have to, at some point you have to you are ready, you know? He told me like, you're ready. At some point you have to start making your own decisions.
Yeah, I think like in the beginning it can be super scary to be on your own, but maybe like on the other hand it's also very freeing. Like,
yeah, but it's confusing. It's in the beginning, like first few months, first year, it's a bit like, I don't know, I sound maybe weird, maybe, I don't know. And of course it's normal that you are just, you don't want to also turn on someone else's CD and be like, I'm gonna play like them. Mm-hmm. Because that you can always do. You can always do that.
But that is not the point, because you're your own person. But how, what could you tell us maybe a bit about the process of coming to terms of being now on your own and trusting yourself. I mean, with your CD recording, for example, how, because there are so many Mozart concerto recordings, but this one is gonna be your own, and I'm pretty sure we're all going to love it. Yeah, how do you come to terms with your own creative side? Like, this is the right decision that I want to take.
Well, I love to do listen to people that are smarter than me in certain cases, which is a great thing to do, I think, in general. And of course, we all made our studies before, so you have a sense of language of music, right? So that's not like phrasing, like all of that is more or less like a gravity for me. Something that I was working a lot with Mathieu was the gravity of the music, like the gravity of the phrase, and that's for me leans a lot in nature. It sounds maybe very dreamy, but I believe, like, when you throw a ball up, at some point it's gonna fall down, and that's sometimes for me also how I try to feel the phrase. For example, that's one small thing, but apart from that, that's my personal feeling, my personal flow in the music, let's say. But of course, about Mozart, I worked a lot with Johannes. We were comparing certain opera parts to the flute concerto. We were passing through different recordings from the people that they work with, historically informed practices. Johannes knows, so the conductor, he knows a lot about, so I mean, from Leopold Mozart, the books and like the quants and all of these kind of things. These are like information that is there that you gotta kind of know before deciding some things. And yeah, so of course it's all the history, it's all the theories, but sometimes certain theories are like going against each other. You just gotta choose which one fits you better, I guess. And then you have maybe like Paul Casal's possibility to record Mozart concerto 6 times in your life. I don't know, maybe not, but for sure, for me, for example, Mozart, this one that I recorded now feels very, very alive in that way, like alive, and very fresh, not too romantic, but a little bit more baroque wise, and I really like it. So also playing wise, I feel so alive playing it. So that's like, you kind of follow your feelings, some kind of course, suggestions of the people that you trust too. It's good to but in the same time, like, what are we doing? We are just playing music. It's not that serious. You can just do whatever you want, honestly.
No, we're just a vessel. We're a glorified funnel.
Yeah, like in a way, I would never do that, huh? But in a way, you can take a Mozart concerto and put a beat under it, and just that's gonna be also fine. Nobody's gonna die, You want to do it? Do it!
Yeah.
So this Mozart project was not your only concerto project. You were also playing other flute concertos with orchestras. I think also Iber you will play. And how do you prepare to play solo concerto with an orchestra?
Oh, well, like everyone. No, yeah, well, you would have to know me a bit better, but I am pretty spontaneous human, and somehow I don't have a plan, I promise. It just things kind of fall into a place, and I'm so grateful for it somehow. But sometimes I'm waking up like a month before a concert, and I'm a little bit like, or I'm arriving to a place and I'm like, how did it even happen, But no, of course, I love what I'm doing, so I'm working and I am practicing every single day, and it's fun for me. In the middle of everything, I normally have like a mental breakdown, let's say, like especially like 3 days 3 days before going to a place, before the first rehearsal with the orchestra. When I played Lieberman concerto last year, like the air at my home was so dense that you could cut through it. I promise, I was really nervous because it's so difficult. And let's say, of course, you want to be prepared as early as possible, but you also know very well that it's never good enough.
Yeah, you have to come to the terms with that. I mean, even if it's the final performance, actually, it's always a work in progress. It's just you have to trust your capabilities.
Yeah,
That it will
you have
go
to trust
fine.
yourself. And when you perform a concerto once, it's different than when you perform concerto 10 times. So of course the feeling in the body is different. So I try to also play through for the friends or for anyone, and for myself, record before always. That of course, these are like a very practical tools, I guess, that most of professional musicians, I think, know and practice. That before you play on big stage, you want to play it on some smaller environment. Although it's not easy to put yourself in such a vulnerable position that like a month before a concerto you're like, okay, I'm gonna play for you, and half of the things they don't work out maybe, or they do but not the way you want it. So yeah, it's like a very, very normal process. I'm sure you all kind of know it.
It's true. I think also people listening will
Everyone will be relating. Yeah, that's true.
Oh, kind of related to that. What is something that you discovered recently in music, or and that is important for your inspiration?
What am I working right currently? I'm in such a tunnel of every day 3 rehearsals per day, and I'm not sleeping and everything. So for sure, what I realize right now, it's important to have vacation.
Vacation is indeed very important.
Because, yeah, last week I had such a wonderful project with wonderful people. Wow, they were like, it felt like flying to play with them. But going in the morning to the rehearsal, I was like, how am I gonna even make it? Like, I was like in a train and I was like, ugh. Like, you have this feeling that the amount of dots on a paper is infinite and they are all difficult. It was Peter and the Wolf. You gotta put it through, like, pull it off. It's difficult to play. And so, I mean, the case of taking care of your nervous system, very important. And it's not gonna go off even. Maybe that's an interesting, maybe that's not such a musical thing, but like a lifestyle thing a bit more. In a way, even if you love doing something and you think that, because I really, like, I speak with my friends, or like with people that I love. Recently, I was last week talking with someone and I was saying, I don't want to complain at all, because I know I'm doing something that I really like, and it's not the case that I want to complain. But then he told me, and he said, like, yeah, but maybe because we like it so much, you actually put on you a little bit too much because you want to, and then you just kind of thought. So this is my conclusion this month a little bit, is just that it's also very important to breathe and to take care of your nervous system, and to, just, it's super hard, and I know it sounds a little bit like maybe luxurious, but yeah, it's important, like, not to take everything possible just because.
Yeah, like,
because even if you're doing
things
something that you like and love, and you get life from that, of course you need to think about your time
and there's a limit.
Boundaries.
Like, work is work, even if you love it. Like, there's a limit to your body, just physically.
Yeah. It's true, because you also came from a chamber music festival recently that you did. Can you tell us about that? And also the recording of the solo piece that you did with the composer?
Yeah. Oh wow. So the festival was Krzyżowa Music Festival in Poland, and it's really wow what the people are playing there. It's like such an inspiration, and I think for we all are there like on a cloud. It's utopian world for 2 weeks. With people that I know it sounds very like extra, but really like somehow everyone was there wishing each other the best, playing football together in the afternoon and chatting on the grass with the coffee. And everyone's so passionate about what they're doing. So passionate, and so good, so quality musicians that really I rarely felt any kind of like ego game at all, like it was really pure and so nice to always be in this kind of environment. Yeah, and so we played different types of chamber, like different types of music. I played Haydn quartets for flute, which not everyone liked, but they kind of liked. I have to dive deeper into this. I don't know why nobody plays it. I think some people says that even they are not written by Haydn. There is no really good edition, so it's kind of like a hint for the fluties out there. Check out the Haydn flute quartets. And and then trio, and then Français, the sextet with the piano, and this solo piece from Helena Winkelmann. Oh my god, that was difficult. I got called her 2 weeks before, and I said, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to play it. I am so sorry. And she was like, no, you can do it, Zofia, you can do it. I believe in you. You're amazing. And I was like, am I? And I managed, and you don't imagine how proud I was of myself. Nobody knew, only my family and like my closest people, how of a process that was. And somebody can say like, okay, not a big deal, whatever. But for me, when something, I think for everyone, but like I experienced it with this piece, when you grow something in your head bigger than it actually is, it just really becomes some kind of an unimaginary huge problem to pass through. And that was for me that piece. And luckily the composer, so the Helena, she was so supportive, and everyone was so supportive. And I know, again, it's just a piece. It's not like somebody is fighting for life or anything. So it's my little life, little big deal in my own life, my personal journey about my own personality.
But sure, but there's a lot of pressure, especially if you're doing a piece that a composer wrote.
That
And
will be
is
there,
there
yeah.
and the composer is right there.
Oh yeah, that is for sure a thing. Yeah, because in a way I didn't want to disappoint her the most. That was my priority. In a way, that's why I was having stress. Well, that's why I was stressing out, because I knew that the piece is nice. I love the piece. I didn't have time, so they told me in June to perform it in end of August. That's with the Verbier Festival in the middle, when we have like 1 day rehearsal, 1 day concert, and with all the stuff in the middle, it was pretty tough. So that's why all the struggle. And I told her like, how about if we perform it like in a half a year, so I can just work on it a little bit more, so I can play, very good, because the way you deserve that piece to be performed. And she was like, yeah, but it sounds already really good. And I was like, okay, amazing, so can try. And then I pushed for the last 2 weeks really a lot. And in these situations, I always remember about this, that Rostropovich learned Shostakovich concerto in 1 week or something like this. And I'm like, okay. And I think, okay, fine, maybe it's possible. I mean, then I'm like, not maybe. Then I'm always like, okay, anything is possible. You can do it. But you just really gotta believe.
So, and like, between all the concerts that you play and teaching that you do, you also do music meditation courses, right?
Yeah.
How did you come up with that idea and how did you develop it?
Well, I mean, I didn't really like it's nothing new in the world. Like, it's a very old Indian practice, this sound healing with the different kind of singing bowls. And when I was in Berlin, I used to go for yoga a lot, like a few times a week. That was my safe space. Also some movement, some kind of like, Berlin is quite a hectic city. There's a lot of stress, of course. Also in the music world, I think it's a pretty intense place for the classical music, which is so inspiring, so amazing, so beautiful. But also you need to put your head really in order to be good, I guess, and to, like, you cannot just like go to a philharmonic to play a concert randomly and just be like, whoo. To me, it always required a lot of like a mental focus, really. So somehow yoga was helping me with that a lot. And there, I was first time on a sound bath also, around that time, and I felt so relaxed. And we musicians, we are so sensitive to sounds, and we know how a good harmony feels like in our body. It's just a bit like when you go to orchestra rehearsals and everything is like so smooth, and those chords in Beethoven are like and it just like feels so good in the place. It's like even when people are tuning things and suddenly something clicks and you guys and people sound like the woodwind group, for example, sounds like organ all together, and it just like, to me it sounds good to my body. Like, when things are out of tune and all of that, like, I feel like somebody punched me during the rehearsal, and I just go out like with tense shoulders and a bit more like, sometimes even a headache, after 3 hours, when things are really out of the place. So that was for me a great discovery, which is very logical, but of course it's also a new practice that maybe not many people had the chance to experience. But honestly, it's nothing complicated. It's just very pure sounds that are very consistent, because the best it works when you are there for like at least half an hour. But normally a session takes like an hour, and it's just simple physics, or like, but physics, like, you can talk about science of that, but everyone knows how it feels good to your body when there's like somebody with a beautiful sound, whether when there's somebody who has a very harsh sound, and it's like it does something to your nervous system. And that's what I experienced, and that's what I thought. It's so beautiful, and I personally love to, like, I would love that somebody does for me the sound baths every 3 days, but I do them myself, but I cannot do them to myself, unfortunately. But because I experience, and I go also sometimes to some sessions to other people, of course, but because I experienced how great it is, and we are stressed society, like musicians, we all have, many people have struggles with stress. I just thought that it's something great to bring to musicians. In the beginning it was a bit weird, and so, like, because it's something new, so people are a little bit like, what is this? Yeah, exactly. And not everyone understands that I don't talk about like a spiritual connection of the soul, and like your karmic journey of your past lives. And no, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just talking, and I'm interested simply in a beautiful experience that is calming to your nervous system. And then whatever you do with it after, just, some people, they everyone has a different perspective on life, and that's not my and of course, why is it connected so much to a spiritual practice? Because it comes from India. Yeah, so that's mostly.
And I think that's super important. I mean, everyone will have a different perspective. Whoever goes to such a event or meditation class or however you call it, everyone will take something from it that's good for them. So whatever it's a spiritual thing, whether it's a cleansing thing, it's up to them. And it really reminds me of those frequency sounds, music that you can find on YouTube. And I don't know if that's how accurate it is, but I think it's interesting. And also it for sure does something, and everyone goes looking for it for a different reason. So it's very open.
Yeah, and it sounds like a super beautiful discovery that you had when you were in Berlin. That's what you said. And actually, we asked our audience for some questions, and they were very curious about how it was to play with Berlin Philharmonic in the Karajan Academy. And one person asked, was it nerve-wracking playing next to Emmanuel Pahu and Mathieu Dufour in the Academy?
Oh my god, so cute. Well, I actually think that they were so supportive. You cannot imagine how nice people they are. And actually, like, everyone thinks, I mean, not everyone thinks, but like, I know that it's like they're these big, huge figures of flute world, of the classical music world. But they are so nice as people, really so supportive. Oh my god, so supportive. You can really feel so much how they want you to succeed in anything. Like really, they want you to be better, and that's a great feeling that somebody has for you somehow, and that you can feel that too. Nerve-wracking, yes, I mean, for sure a little bit, but in the same time, you just make it happen somehow, like anything. Like, it's a question, I think, of, it's a different mindset, let's say, than in some of the other orchestras. It's a little bit more, I think that is the one key kind of ingredient to high level music, whatever what that means for whatever who, is that when you are in an environment of people with certain expectations, or like you perform like very often like in the environment that you are. So of course when you're in an environment of like that, your level is also like here because you push yourself to that. That's why it's so important for me to play with amazing people and to be open to get to be better all the time, to learn, to listen to others and everything, because I want to play better with these people. So yes, it was nerve-wracking. It was in a way, but in a way it was also so inspirational. So also the stress was kind of secondary thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It must be so nice to actually like get to know them as people, because as you say, like everyone kind of puts them as like the flute idols, and not as actual people that have a personality and that have a goodwill and want the best thing for you. So that must have been such a beautiful experience.
Yeah, and you see also that you see that they're also just normal people, and that's cool to discover.
Another audience question was relating to Karajan Academy, and it was, how did you prepare for Karajan Academy? And before, you were already speaking about the process behind like going to the concerts and preparing pieces. But how did you prepare for the audition?
So I did audition twice. Once I was in a final with Upama Mukenstun. She was also she got the position, and they told me like, come next year. And I was good. I guess it was good for me to stay with my professor one more year, and maybe I was a bit too young at that moment. And I think they really appreciate like the way you grow as a musician. Like they kind of like want to see that you develop all the time. Back then, I think everything was pretty spontaneous also. I don't know, there are many different theories, and some people say like you gotta live a life like every day normally, and some people are like having their rituals and stuff. I read recently about sport people is that 18% more success with certain like in the sport situations have people when they have their little ritual before a shoot, for example, like, or before something. I personally listen to a song of Beyonce.
Well, but that's totally fine, and it seems to work out very well for you, so...
Yeah, so it pumps me up. It's like, it gives me always a great energy. I do it always before a concert. There's one song particular that I feel like I'm going on stage now and I'm rocking it. I like to do this. I know it sounds funny, but I love it. It gives me great energy. And I always think about this girl, when she goes on stage, she needs to own it, So it's inspirational for me. But about the process preparing to the audition, well, simple. You gotta be in shape, I guess, like in your best shape possible. Have a beautiful sound and feel in control of everything. But before the Karajan Academy, I think I really, 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 really wanted that so badly. That I was just trying to prepare as best as possible. So like, of course, like practicing every day. They didn't have many orchestra excerpts, so it was Mozart and Piccolo, Vivaldi, and Image from Bozza. Somehow I have my own way of trusting my own intuition and doing things more a little bit like a child. I like to have fun and work, and I work a lot. Don't understand me wrong.
We never doubted that.
And I think that's still really good advice, because for sure for some people it might be more useful to learn about organization or how do you technically prepare for an audition, but it's also really important to
not get too much into
that, but actually have the process that you would normally go through for any other audition project or whatever, and really keep in that energy, or like hype yourself up, because why not? I mean, you're going for a purpose to whatever audition or something, but it's important to hype yourself up.
That's true.
And have that boost of confidence and like do your job the way you want to, and then you might...
I think in our profession, more important than even the result, what I believe actually, it's the really just getting... It's like enjoying the process. I know it's many people talk about that. Like I think who was like Kobe Bryant also was talking about it a lot. Like a lot of sport people. Because sure you can have a success, but then you have success and what? I think of one friend was recently talking to me, and she was saying like, oh, I wish I wouldn't win that competition, because that competition was giving me kind of pressure on myself, and that doesn't mean that it's bad to win a competition. It's wonderful, but it's always it's not that what is more beautiful. It's kind of, I think, the process, because the process is 90% of the story.
That's super true. So one other audience question was, do you have career plans for the future, specific goals that you're working to reach right now?
Well, my little dream is gonna happen soon, because I always dreamt. I mean, these are those little things that you dream about and then suddenly they kind of happen. And I don't know how, but they just do. Of course, I'm working for those stuff, like towards it, but for some people it might be not a big deal. Like again, we are talking about the perspective, no? Like I feel it was my little dream. for some people it happened already 10 times in their life. So next year I'm going to have my first concert as a soloist in Berlin Phil, in the Kammermusiksaal, but in Berlin Phil. And
wow, that's amazing.
and as a teenager I could never dream about that, you know what I mean? Like I could just never even think of it. So I'm super grateful for that. And my goals for that is like, I think right now I'm discovering really a lot sharing with my students. Before I was not like that, because I'm the last person to tell other people what to do, because I have kind of allergy for that. And that's why it's a funny circle, because I told you that I made my teachers cry before. It's because in my family, they always laugh about me, that my motto in my life is like, don't tell me what to do. And somehow I really don't feel comfortable when other people tell me what to do, in the sense of like, okay, you have to do it like this. And I'm like, why? That's why I sometimes have a problem with the classical music industry, when it's just so stiff and so like serious and so, that it's just good to do whatever you want to. But I would love to, I think I would love to, as I'm discovering that inspiration that my students give me, but that somehow I can give to them too. And it really changes their way of thinking sometimes. And I don't press on anyone on anything. It's just like a little inspiration always, that they say like, it's really changing my everyday life somehow on little things, but it does. So I think I would love to have a small class somewhere one day.
It's a really good plan for the future, even if maybe it's in the early stages, or maybe it's already somehow developing, but we're sure that you will be a great teacher.
I think so too. Like very supportive teacher, and very like guiding with care, and
but also someone who does kind of push boundaries, is doing something of your own completely in a way. And I think that's really important also for a professor, to be just bold and kind of brave, I guess.
Yeah.
So we've come to the end of our podcast episode, and we made a little tradition the first season of asking fire questions. 3 fire questions. So the first one would be, what soundtrack would you choose for your life?
Oh wow, there is a Finding Neverland. I think it's good. Called like this, yeah. Finding Neverland, with Johnny Depp.
Nice.
Yes.
Then the second one. Which flute concerto is your favorite one?
How are you going to choose that? I mean, it's impossible. I have to. I mean, I would have to be very unfair.
That's true. I mean, it's a very hard question.
I have a huge sentiment to Carl Philipp Manuel Bach D minor and Jolivet. I don't know.
So, alive or dead, which flutist would you invite for dinner?
Well, it's gonna be kind of cliche about my teacher, Mathieu.
Oh, that's nice.
Great. Alright, this is the end of the episode.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us and sharing like so personal and interesting things.
And really going in depth.
Yeah, I think it's super inspirational to listen to what you're saying.
Oh, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. I'm glad we could do it, and and thank you so much for your invitation. That really means a lot to me that you guys thought about it.